Hello, we are glad to have you here. Volcanic Fissure is a brand new attack skill introduced to Path of Exile in patch 3.20. It slams the ground, creating a fiery fissure that travels towards a specified location, where it erupts to release many projectiles into the air that slowly falls down, damaging any enemy standing in the radius. It also converts over half of your physical damage into the fire type. A key factor why this skill stands out is the slam tag, and the possibility to use it with Earthbreaker support gem, which is the main interaction we are using for this build. Totems have many advantages, such as immunity to reflect, greater area of effect cover, and better damage uptime. After summoning your totems, you are free to dodge any incoming attack, which works great in the newest League content, the Forbidden Sanctum. In this build, we decided to use a Shaper-influenced shield which grants one additional totem, paired with Brutus Lead Sprinkler, a unique weapon that has a great synergy with Strength attribute. For every 10 points of Strength, it gains 4 to 7 base fire damage to attacks. With barely 1300 of that attribute, it becomes a 1000 elemental DPS weapon, and it's only the beginning. Stacking Strength has other benefits too. For every 2 points of Strength, you will be granted 1 maximum life, and for every 5 points, you will get 1% increased melee physical damage. With Iron Will Keystone and Crown of Eyes, it applies to your fire attacks at 150% effectiveness. Thanks to this combination, Strength is a very valuable attribute that greatly improves your damage, and makes you more tanky. Volcanic Fissure shares many similarities with the Molten Strike, however it's vastly different in many aspects. You can drop your totems anywhere you want, and their long-range attacks will reach all your enemies anyway. After doing so, you can cast your mark or apply exposure on tough enemies if needed. Having a very high maximum life pool is useful, but not enough. To further boost your survivability, we use Determination Aura, which gives tons of armor, with a lot of block chance coming from our shield and Iron Fortress. Your totems will leech life back to you, giving you a steady source of life recovery. The build has pretty decent clear speed. Once you cast your totems, you can already move to the next pack of monsters. Single target requires a bit of setup, but after deploying every tool you have at your disposal, the bosses will melt very quickly. This build is very cheap to get going, as you will need only a few key unique items, but as an attribute stacking build, you can upgrade it almost indefinitely. The key unique items for this build are laughably cheap considering the power they grant. The jewels are a bit of luxury and can be obtained much later in your gear progression. Brutus Lead Sprinkler is the main feature of this build. It adds an average of 5.5 points of base fire damage for every 10 points of strength you have. You can try to get the increased attack speed corrupted implicit, as the weapon is pretty cheap. Crown of Eyes combined with Iron Will Keystone turns your melee physical damage bonus from strength into a spell damage boost, and then converts that spell damage into a generic attack damage bonus, at 150% effectiveness. It also gives you a bit of accuracy rating, which is very helpful. Iron Fortress is a very strong unique armor for a build that utilizes strength. It grants you a lot of strength and boosts your block chance and melee damage based on your total strength. The downsides are a bit annoying, but not deal-breaking. Alberon's Warpath is a cheap pair of boots that can give you a lot of attributes. Additional chaos resistances and movement speed are also quite useful. Astramentus is a very good and cheap unique amulet that adds a lot of all attributes. It's a great starting point for every attribute build. It covers all your dexterity and intelligence needs, so you don't have to waste your resources elsewhere. Watcher's Eye has very potent aura modifiers for our setup. Fire penetration from Anger is the most valuable one for your damage, but you can also opt for more defensive ones. Lethal Pride has the potential to offer amazing bonuses for this build, but getting the proper one is quite challenging due to the random nature. The most valuable modifiers are 5% increased strength and chance to deal double damage. Your rare items are responsible for a lot of your attributes. You have plenty of percentage increased strength, so you need a lot of flat values to make it worth it. Jewelry with synthesis bases and 20% quality gives enormous amounts of that attribute. You don't need increases to damage, prioritize life, resistances, and attack speed or accuracy instead. Use the Shaper-influenced rare shield to get an additional summoned totem limit. Other than that, try to get strength, maximum life, or elemental resistances. You can also get a modifier that applies shock to enemies if you block their hit. Your rare belt can also provide a lot of strength. Try to get the synthesis implicit that increases your strength by up to 15%. Other than that, look for just regular attributes, life, and resistance modifiers. There are many useful modifiers on your rare gloves. Strength, attack speed, and accuracy rating are all very good for this build. You can get Intimidate chance thanks to the Eldritch influences. With high enough investment, rare amulets outperform Astramentus. You will need a percentage increase in flat values of strength to achieve that. Don't forget about your dexterity and intelligence requirements before you do a swap. You will have to get a lot of elemental resistances on your rare rings, but you can't forget about strength or maximum life. You can get implicit that boost your strength, but it's not as strong as it is for amulet or belt. You can also get flammability on hit if you got a source of additional curse. Rare jewels are very useful in this build as they can grant you a lot of life and critical multiplier, or stats you lack on the rest of your gear such as resists and attributes. Large cluster jewels provide 2 very strong passives for attacks with maces. Third option is quite good, but not mandatory. Use one with the least amount of added passives, to not waste any passive points on them. Medium cluster jewel is a great place to get permanent onslaught for your build thanks to the Sleepless Sentry notable. The second notable is not that important, but if you can get Ancestral Guidance notable there, definitely go for it. Bottled Faith provides an amazing damage bonus for this build as it significantly improves the damage taken and the chance to critical strike your enemies, but it's quite expensive and hard to get. Dying Sun Flask is far more accessible, and also provides an amazing damage bonus in form of additional projectiles. All your projectiles have the potential to hit the same target. Your remaining Magic Flask setup should consist of Life Flask with bleeding removal, Diamond Flask with additional attack speed bonus, Granite Flask with an increased armor rating modifier. That skill creates a fissure that erupts in the targeted location, releasing many projectiles. Anomalous Quality adds 1 extra projectile. By linking it with Earthbreaker support, you create a totem that uses that skill instead. With this setup, you can have up to 3 totems active at once, spewing flame projectiles everywhere on your screen. By using Life Tap support, you can bypass the very high mana costs of this skill and pay with your life instead. Alongside your main totems, you also want to use the Ancestral Totems for their powerful buffs. Ancestral Protector gives an enormous bonus to your attack speed if you are close to it. On the other hand, Ancestral Warchief gives you more damage. Those bonuses are also significantly increased by your ascendancy and specific notable on the passive tree. With multiple totem support, you can bypass your regular totem limits. Determination is an aura that improves your armor rating and grants some base flat armor. Anger is an aura that adds fire damage to all your attacks. While the damage is just okay, it has some very potent Watcher Eye modifiers available to use. Blood and Sand change your stances, and depending on your current stance, it either gives you a lot of damage or area of effect for your attacks. Link those auras with Enlightened support to free up some of your mana. Precision gives a lot of accuracy and critical strike chance. It reserves a flat amount of mana, and that number increases with the gem levels. Use the Arrogant support to reserve your life instead, as level 20 of this gem is very problematic to fit in your mana. Assassin's Mark improves your critical strike chance against the marked enemy. Unfortunately, you won't get power charges from your totem's kills. It's best to self-cast it to get the full effect. Wave of Conviction applies fire exposure on enemies if the highest damage type it deals is also fire. Since you can't deal damage directly because of Ancestral Bond Keystone, you will have to use mines. Thanks to the Charged Mine support, you will generate frenzy charges very easily. Leap Slam quickly moves you to the targeted location. Leap slamming on enemies with full life will always apply stun to them, making it a great defensive option during mapping. Molten Shell creates a protective shield around you that reduces incoming damage and grants additional armor. You can automate it or cast it manually when you expect a high amount of damage incoming. You can't gain frenzy charges from your blood rage because it's the totems that kill monsters, but the buff itself gives plenty of attack speed. Try to have it active at all times. In Act 2, help Aramir by killing all 3 bandits to get 2 additional passive skill points. As a major Pantheon god you should choose the Soul of the Brine King and its upgraded version to have free freeze immunity and protection from being stunlocked. Your minor Pantheon god choice is quite flexible, but we recommend getting the Soul of Shikari to help dealing with poisons and other chaos damage over time effects. There is a lot of traveling going on in your passive tree. It's not that bad as most of those small passive points grant you the strength that you need anyway, but it's a bit problematic during leveling, as you need your items to benefit properly from it. We recommend picking up nearby passives that could help with your damage early on and respect them later using free regret points you can get from doing campaign quests. Fortunately, the Marauder's starting area is full of such passives, so you should have no problems. Getting your totem's passives will also greatly help you, as the Ancestral Warchief is perfectly capable of carrying you through hard encounters. Getting an Ancestral Bond Keystone will turn off your damage completely, allowing you to fully convert into the totem playstyle. The aura passives are very useful to fit in more auras. They are especially useful when your Enlightened support gem level is still low. The Totem Mastery that grants you Ancestral Totem buff Lingering is a great quality of life addition. You should definitely try to get that mastery as soon as you can. To further boost your ancestral buffs, the first ascendancy notable you should take is the Tukahama, War's Herald. It will greatly improve their bonus, as well as increase the activation range. Additionally, it will grant you life leech from your totems. To improve your leveling experience, you can use the medium cluster jewel with the Sleepless Sentries notable fairly quickly, around level 54. That concludes this video. We hope you will have tons of fun testing this skill out. As always, have a good day, and see you in the next video.